And now I'll turn it over to Nina Davuluri. She's been traveling for, 3 years, scouring the country and India, so I'm sure she has a great perspective.
3 years and some change. Thank you so much, Amar, for giving all of us this wonderful opportunity to come together and spread our messages. I was more than honored to sit here on this wonderful, amazing panel, but I was really excited because I felt like I was able to represent a younger demographic and kind of give you and share a little bit about the insight that I hear from not only my peers, but also my travels speaking to younger generations. My platform is called Celebrating Diversity Through Cultural Competency, and that was something I founded almost 8 years ago. It wasn't something that I just decided to promote when I woke up as Miss America and said I'm going to promote diversity now. It's something I've essentially advocated for my entire life, but officially for 8 years. So through that, my organization, Circles of Unity, I've been able to speak with over 40 different colleges and universities, which is my most enjoyable moments because I do get to not only share my story about growing up Indian American and what that means, but really being able to hear the stories about younger people and generations and what they're facing growing up as second, third, fourth generation Indian Americans and how that affects our community. One of the most exciting things I was really able to do was this past year. And at the first International Day of Yoga 2 years ago, I was honored to be here in DC hosting the event. And I met very organically Assistant Secretary Nisha Biswal. And we were both speaking. I had no idea who she was at that moment. And she had shared with me that she had also had 2 young daughters and what it meant to them to see someone who was Indian fill the role of Miss America. And so through our conversations, I'd actually worked very closely with an organization called Girl Rising, an incredible organization that I've continued to work with, and they also launched Girl Rising India. So through Assistant Secretary Biswal's office, we put together a 10-day tour in Mumbai, Hyderabad, and Vijayawada, really focusing on not only diversity, but women's empowerment, and specifically education of the girl child. And this was something that was the most rewarding because my grandmother founded a school, or I should say acquired a school in the 1930s in the rural town of Vijayawada. And in the past 60 years, she's turned that school into an institution and a college and university specifically for women. And so to go back there as a former Miss America and speak to these young ladies that because of my grandmother, because of my mother and her dream to come to America, anything really is possible with the power of an education. And I think that really resonated with those young girls to see someone like that. And that's certainly something that we need to see more of. It's not just Miss America, it's every single field to be able to go out and reach those rural communities and share your message, because for them to actually see someone, touch them, feel them, interact with them in their native tongue, it means so much to them. So as you can tell, that was certainly one of the most rewarding experiences that I had. But since then, I think the number one question is, well, what are you doing now? I've had an incredible 3 years, as traveling as Miss America. But I think the number one thing that I learned is that of course I've had a great platform, but entertainment and advocacy really go hand in hand. So more recently, I actually just wrapped up a project with ZTV. They're going through, I would say, a rebranding phase of really trying to reach out to my generation and younger. And so we just wrapped up a project that I can't say much more about, but I will say stay tuned, that I'm excited because I think it really targets, it's really targeting young women, hopefully also young males, and really shedding a new perspective on Indian Americans and what that means and how we can really create change together. So it's been fun, and thanks for having me.